Let's start off this week's outlook by taking a look at how much rain fell last week over the southeast U.S. Areas in green received anywhere from a ½ inch to about 1.5 inches and is very welcome in those areas. Unfortunately, it didn't look like it made it into the core of the drought over the southern part of the, Georgia. You can sort of see that the heaviest rain very abruptly stopped here. And even though it hit some of the core of drought, most of the core of the drought was just south of that area. So it was welcome, but it would have been nice to have it a little bit further south. If we look at the percent of normal last week, red is below normal. In fact, the dark red is well below normal. And most of the region from South Carolina all the way up through Virginia, as well as Florida, experienced well below normal rainfall. Alabama and Georgia received from normal rainfall to a bit above normal in that area of heavier rain. Now, I wanted to sort of step back and look at some of the big trends for November, and this is the normal amount of precipitation that falls in November. And what you see here are 3 areas where rainfall is usually heavier: the Pacific Northwest, South Central U.S., and the Northeast U.S. And if we look at the South Central U.S., we see that from a climatological perspective, or what's normal, is that Mississippi and Alabama and northern Georgia typically do receive more rain than areas further east, including the Carolinas, southeast Georgia, and Florida. And that has been generally the pattern we've seen. Now, what's unusual, though, is the amounts of rain have been less in here. Now, we'll see if that continues the rest of the month, but I think we're going to see that the pattern looks similar, but the amounts of rain are going to end up less than normal. So the drought monitor here, update, over the entire southeast, what we see here is the drought has expanded just 1% from about 6% to 7% over the southeast U.S., but if we look over Georgia, it's been more significant, from about 23% to about 27%. So it has been more significant over Georgia. Usually this time of year, as I've mentioned before, with cooler temperatures, it's not going to expand as quick, just 1% or 2%. But you know, if temperatures average above normal, I'm going to show you that they probably will, it will be a little quicker than you would normally expect in November. River conditions are well below normal over fairly broad parts of South Carolina and Georgia, fairly close to normal over Alabama, Mississippi, and Florida. Now, this is in the core of drought. This is Bainbridge on the Flint River, a duration hydrograph from the USGS, and the green is what the river would be doing over time if it remained in a normal flow. This is above normal the blues, and below normal brown. And you can see for well over a year on the Flint River in this area, we've been running very close to record lows, and the black is the observed flow, and this is the latest, and you can see it's still, this is below the brown line, and that's saying that we're running at a record low at this location, and it's just one of the impacts that we're seeing in that area of exceptional drought over south central Georgia. So how much rain would it take to get us back out of this drought in that area? Still 9 to 12 inches of rain, and I don't see that anytime soon. It's going to take a while to get out of that. I think the next chance we really need to look at that will be after the first of the year, when we get in our typical wet season. And, you know, we'll have to see what happens there, but it's going to take a lot to get out of this and get us back up to where it'd be normal. We're certainly not going to see that in the next couple of weeks. This is the overall big picture. The yellow jet stream here is early in the week. And what we have is a fairly vigorous impulse or energy moving through. That'll be moving through very early. It'll be bringing a cold front through the region. But as we've seen for quite some time, it's going to bring some significant rain to the middle part of the nation, Midwest, Ohio Valley. But then as it moves east, it's going to taper off with the amounts of rain. More significantly is the blue line. That's the rest of the week. It's going to be what I call a zonal flow from west to east, fairly sloppy, so there will be some areas of energy embedded in it, but it's going to be well to our north. And what that's going to most likely mean is well below normal precipitation and above normal temperatures. In fact, I wanted to show sort of the longer term, 6 to 10 day. And you might remember I mentioned that this is the Arctic Oscillation here, that most of October it was negative, strongly negative. And then as we got into November, it went positive, and the forecast is generally to remain in the positive range. And what that did is that relaxed that upper trough over the eastern U.S. that was set up in October. And now what we have, this area in red, is above normal pressure. So what that's saying is the jet stream is going to bow over the eastern U.S. and dip over the western U.S. And what that's going to mean for the southeast U.S. is above normal temperatures with that pressure well above normal, and most likely all the energy in the atmosphere will also be to our north, so it's going to be below normal precipitation as well. And this goes out well into November. Another way to look at it, these are some specific models, week 1 and week 2, and a lot of the precipitation week 1 is with the system moving through early, and here's that, we've seen this. How many times have we seen this? This delineation here where the rainfall is stronger to the west of this line, and then it decreases to the east. In the core of drought, very little rain week 1, and over the entire southeast U.S. over week 2, very little rain. So really, it looks like this trend of the drought expanding is going to continue for much of the rest of the month of November. As far as trends and threats, I put in here the area in blue line, the transition where it goes from heavier rain to the west to very light rain to the east, maybe a ½ inch or so, plus or minus, along that transition. So parts of the southeast U.S. will get some rain. I think any area can use it, but the areas most likely getting the rain this week are going to be the areas that need it the least. Areas getting the least amount of rain are going to, unfortunately, not get much at all. So the takeaway points, one frontal passage early. Like I said, 1 inch will be tapering off to 0. A mainly dry pattern thereafter that could last 2 weeks, and the drought will persist. Thank you for listening. Now, if you find this information useful, I'd love to hear from you. My email is john@bluewateroutlook.com. If you find it useful, pass it along to others, and maybe they would like to subscribe. I'll be updating this another week and issuing information later this week as well. Thank you.